Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Paige Arnolfin of Mavens Moguls. Paige, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Gresh, for having me. It's really fun to be here. I appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you. And what I wanted to do was just read a little bit more about Paige so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Paige is the founder and CEO of global marketing and branding firm Mavens Moguls, located and based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Her clients include Microsoft, Virgin, Colgate, the New York Times Company, venture-backed startups, as well as nonprofit organizations. She graduated from Stanford University and Harvard Business School. She is a popular speaker and columnist who has written for Entrepreneur and Forbes. Paige, are you ready to speak to the I Am CEO community?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. The first question I have for you, if you can talk a little bit more about your background and what led you to start your business.
So it's kind of a circuitous path. When I was a student in college and grad school, all I knew is I wanted to go into business and be successful. And I really thought I would join a very established company. I had always had good internships. As a student, I joined a big Wall Street firm out of college. I realized I didn't want to stay in finance, but then I got another internship at Procter & Gamble, which is a big marketing company, when I was in grad school. And then I went back to P&G after I graduated with my MBA. And I always thought I would work for a big multinational corporation. And when I thought about my career path, I really saw myself as like a Meg Whitman or Ursula Burns, like a top woman CEO of a big global company. Mm-hmm. And if you would talk to any of my friends or classmates, they would have confirmed that was the path I thought I was on. And the internet kind of exploded. It started in my world, it really started in the 90s. And at that point, I had kind of started my career path in these big, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble. I worked for the Olympics. So really big brands, well-known companies and organizations. But when the internet started heating up, I got very distracted and intrigued by what was happening online, and I left my big corporate job at Coca-Cola to go join a startup no one had ever heard of before in Los Angeles. And I think most of my friends and family thought I was crazy or having a midlife crisis, and they all suggested I take a vacation. I was really stressed out, and I said, no, I just think there's something going on the internet, and I want to be part of it. So I left my big fancy job with an office and a secretary in the corporate headquarters of Coke in Atlanta. And I joined this internet startup in Los Angeles, a couple blocks from the beach. And no one had ever heard the name of the company. They were just really starting to grow. I had just bare bones staff at that point. And I just got hooked. It was so exciting to build a brand from the ground floor and help establish something that no one had ever heard of before. After working on such well-known big brands, it was just such an awesome challenge to build a small brand into something more famous. And we were pretty successful. We went public a few years later. We were sold to Yahoo. Then my husband got a job in Boston, and we moved back to the East Coast. We had both been students on the East Coast earlier in our lives, and we moved back, and I joined another startup as the head of marketing. We got sold to a big private company about a year and a half later. I did another startup as the head of marketing, and we also went public and were sold to a big public company. So I really got kind of hooked and addicted after having this first chapter of my life in big corporate jobs. The second chapter was just all internet startups that were very small, not very well known, and helping them come to life. And that it made me so excited. Every day I bounced out of bed. You really felt like you were impacting you were creating the next global brand and impacting how people were going to think of this forever. But when 9/11 hit, it hit right about the time I got bought out of the third startup. That really changed everything. When 9/11 probably did more to unsettle marketing than anything else that had in my career because, um, companies really went into panic mode. Everyone wanted to conserve their cash because there was so much uncertainty post 9/11. So companies really kind of started to shut down their marketing efforts. And I had just gotten bought out of the third company. So I didn't have to find a job, but I was young. I was in my early, 30s. I really wanted to keep working and I wanted to do something else exciting because then I was kind of addicted. I was a little bit of a, and now I've been on a roll. I got 3 for 3. And basically post 9/11, because all 3 of those startups were venture backed and had a lot of private equity money in them. I knew a lot of people on both coasts, both in Los Angeles and Boston, having been the head of marketing. And people started calling me and emailing saying, we need help with marketing. Even though we're closing our marketing department, we still have projects. Will you help me? And I kept thinking, why are all these people calling me? Like, I'm not a consultant. I never worked on the agency side. I'm not very good at PowerPoint. And I think of consultants giving you PowerPoint slides. I'm the client. I'm the one that rolls up my sleeves and does the work. And everybody said, yeah, that's why we're calling you. We need help. But we can't hire anybody because we've got a hiring freeze after 9/11. Can you just come in and help the way you did with our other investment? So I started calling all my favorite marketing people from earlier in my career, people I'd worked with in the corporate side and the startup businesses. Everybody had been laid off after 9/11 because, like I said, all the marketing departments were being shut down. All the cash was being conserved. And everybody, all my favorite marketing people were available. So I had people that wanted to work. I had projects that needed help. And I just started putting them together. And I called the women the marketing mavens and the guys the marketing moguls. For short, I call them Mavens and Moguls. And it really stuck. I ended up testing the name. It came back as a winner. We had these first projects that were kind of out there. We did a great job. And then they came back for more work. But I joke, I'm like the accidental entrepreneur. I was not looking to start a company. I never wrote a business plan. I threw together a website with a buddy of mine from college who wanted to learn how to program and wrote every bit of copy that you found on the site. It stayed for about 5 years. So I joke I'm like the cobbler's kid with no shoes. I'm the marketing company. It didn't do a very good job of marketing ourselves. It was a pretty generic website. I think now we're on 3.0. So it's getting better, but it's still a work in progress. But basically, I think I'm as surprised as anybody. So I started this company now. It's been almost 17 years. And my longest job before this was 3.5 years. So, I've now worked for myself, I don't know, 5 times longer than I ever lasted working for anyone else. I keep joking, if I get sick of my boss this time, I'm dead because I don't think I can go back and work for anybody again.
Right. No, that makes sense. And it's great to hear that story. Obviously, it's tough to hear about 9/11 and everything, but you never hear about like how it affects other aspects and especially from the marketing standpoint. So what I wanted to do was ask you if you could drill a little bit deeper on Mavens and Moguls and tell us a little bit more about like how you help serve and support the clients that you work with. And then also too, like what you feel kind of makes you a little bit more unique.
So it's really interesting. Like I said, I didn't come from the agency business. I didn't come from the consulting business. I came from the client side. So I was the chief marketing officer. I did work my way up the ranks in brand management at places like P&G and Coca-Cola. So I didn't have a sense of how to create a good consulting firm. I was just trying to help my clients do a better job and be an extension of their team because I used to sit in their chair. I was on the client side. So I always feel like our competitive advantage or maybe our unique hook is that most of the people in the group are people like me. They're people that were on my team or people I worked with in previous lives. So our heads and hearts are much more aligned with our clients than a traditional agency or consulting relationship. We don't do capabilities presentations on PowerPoint to try and sell our business. I'm not trying to cross-sell or upsell the way an agency typically does. We want to go in, be your thinking partner, roll up our sleeves, help fix the problem, and then move on. So, you know, in a way, I think it's refreshing for our clients because they need help and they need expertise in areas that maybe they don't have on their team. And we love going in and doing the work, but we've had their job. We don't want their job. Like, we're not trying to be one-trick pony consultants. I don't want to do the same kind of work over and over and over for every client. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of agencies try to productize their work, so they have like a widget that they're trying to sell to everybody. And most of the people in my group are like me, that, you know, they love helping, you know, solve problems. They like learning new things constantly, fixing, you know, taking best practices from one industry or category and bringing it into another area where they can solve a problem. And we don't want their day job. We want to help them. It's like teaching them to fish so they can go fish for themselves. And then if they need help on a different problem, they should call us and we can help them do that too. But I think for our clients, they love the fact that we think of their budget the way we did when we were clients. Like, you know, they may say, you know, I've got this much of a budget. What can you do to help me? And we're not just trying to spend every nickel of the budget. I look at their problems and say, well, here's your biggest problem and it's going to cost this much to fix that. And then with the money you have left over, I would put it into this other work that you didn't even ask for, but I think that's going to be your next biggest problem. And so they think that we're looking at the problem the way they are, as the client, not as a vendor trying to get as much work as we can out of them. And so I think that's really the hook, that the reason they keep referring business to us and coming back is I think we really are in the trenches with them, trying to be part of their team, an extension of their team, not just a vendor or a consultant to spend the budget.
Yeah, that's huge. And, you know, a lot of empathy where you kind of understand exactly where they're coming from.
We've been there. We have this, you know, we've worked for public companies with quarterly earnings. We've had bosses. We've had staff that we've had to manage. So we've been in their shoes and we feel their pain. So I think when we come back with recommendations, it might not be what they want to hear, but they appreciate the candid honesty of, like, I've been in that position. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. And here's why we're recommending what we're recommending. And I think it's refreshing because I think, you know, a lot of consulting firms and agencies have the reputation that they regurgitate what the client already knows and then represents it so that their boss has validation to go do something that they want to do. And that's not the kind of work that we do at all. We're not going to give you the answer you're looking for. We're going to give you the answer we think is true, whether it's going to make you happy or sad. We're going to be brutally honest.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's like you're the make sure the doctor, you're giving what you need to be able to be successful, or to make sure that you're a healthy business, a healthy and thriving business or organization. So it makes perfect sense. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack, and this CEO hack might be a app or a book, but it's something that you lean on or use that makes you more effective and efficient as a business owner.
So, you know, I guess there's so many hacks. I mean, I think the biggest hack is just getting knocked around and learning from all your mistakes so that you make better mistakes each time and you keep moving up the food chain. I think that the biggest hack for me is probably on the talent front, that you always want your A team and you've got to keep your skills really top notch. Sometimes it's easy as a CEO to bring in people that you like, or people that think like you or tell you what you want to hear, but that's not necessarily what's the best for your business and for you to grow and expand. And I think sometimes you start with people who you're comfortable with, who are available at the time. And as your business pivots and grows, they don't necessarily grow with you. And so you have to really be able to be brutally honest and keep that bar high and make sure that the team that you move forward with has the right skill sets and that builds around your strengths so that you're filling in gaps and holes that you don't necessarily have. And you can't micromanage them. You have to give them the space to do what they do better than you do. And you have to have the confidence to know that they're going to help solve the problem in a way you might not have thought of. And if you can keep your talent top notch, if you've got an A team around you, you will always be in a better place. No question about it. So it might cause you to get out of your comfort zone, but you have to fight that urge to keep people that tell you you're making a good decision and that you made a great presentation and you're doing a great job. Sometimes it's the people who are a little tougher on you, that really push your thinking, that challenge you, that really kind of beat you up. You know, you need those people in your life and you need to listen to them. Yeah. So that, I think, is one hack that is uncomfortable, but I think it's necessary. The other thing, as an entrepreneur and CEO, you know, you could work 24/7. It is so easy to just, you know, throw all the personal things in your life to the side and write one more proposal, have one more meeting, go to one more networking event. But I think it's really important as a leader to always kind of be your personal best. And part of that is you've got to stay mentally and physically fit. And you cannot let yourself always like cross off going to the gym or exercising. So a big hack for me is multitasking and figuring out ways to incorporate exercise into your normal life as an entrepreneur and CEO. So when you're going to a meeting, if you can take public transportation so that you have to walk to the subway or the bus, take the stairs when you get to the building instead of the elevator. If you're parking at a, you know, whether you're running errands or going into an office park as far away from the door as you can. Don't go looking for that parking spot right by the front door. Give yourself a good 10-minute brisk walk, even if you can't go to the gym and, you know, work out for an hour and a half or hit the Zumba class or the aerobics class or run on the treadmill or whatever. There are ways to incorporate exercise into your life every day that really add up. And a lot of people count their steps on their smartphone. You really can add a lot more just organic movement into your life. You could get a standing desk. You could have walking meetings. You could meet people in a situation where you walk and talk as opposed to sitting in a coffee shop or over a meal or, you know, behind a desk. So when you're doing creative brainstorming conversations, maybe you do that on a nice walk on a nice day as opposed to sitting at Starbucks eating a scone and drinking one of their fancy frappuccinos that's like 500 calories. So I definitely think, you know, being a leader, it's your responsibility to always take really good care of yourself, because you're not going to be good to anyone else if you're not good to yourself.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's important to kind of keep that in mind. So I think those are two really good CEO hacks. And now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this might just be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice or something you would tell your younger business self.
So again, you know, experience teaches you so much. I think really a couple things. You've got to stay focused. I think it's really easy to get distracted by the shiny objects and all the new things that are being thrown your way. But, you know, you want to keep your skills fresh, but when you're sitting down to do something, to prepare something, to give a talk, to write a proposal, stay focused on the task at hand. Don't let the ding of your email or somebody walking into your office get you off your game, because the research shows every distraction, the fact that you lose momentum, you then respond to the email, take the phone call, meet with the person, you lose so much time in those transition modes. So stay super focused when you're, whether you manage your calendar in a way that, like in the morning, if you're really fresh and clear thinking and that's the best time for you to do writing, then carve out time and focus on your writing in those times. Don't wait till 3 or 4 in the afternoon when that's a bad time for you. You've got to stay focused and play to your personal strengths. The other thing is learning how to say no. I think it's really easy to, say yes to everything. And you want to join a committee, you want to join an organization, you want to be on the board, you want to take on that new project. I think a lot of success is learning when to say no, and it ties into the focus. I think some of the most successful people know what they're good at. They know what their strengths are. They know what their mission, vision, values are. And you stay on strategy. And if things don't kind of sync up with where you are trying to go, let somebody else take care of it. Delegate it. Let it go. Say no and stay focused. So I think that's a really important skill to learn early in your career, because otherwise you get distracted, your time gets diluted, and you're never going to be super strong at any of the stuff that really are your strengths. Everybody has different gifts, and make sure that you have enough time and energy so that you can bring your own personal gifts to the table all the time, in every situation, in your day job, in your extracurriculars, with your friends, with your family. And let somebody else take care of the things that you're not good at, you don't like. You don't have to do everything, but the things you do really, really well. That's how you build a great personal brand and a great reputation.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I one of the next things I wanted to ask you, which is my favorite question, which is kind of like the definition of being a CEO. And I know we have different CEOs on this podcast, but I wanted to ask you, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Wow. For me, it's about that, you are the leader, you are the chief visionary, you are also the chief cook and bottle washer. There are no hats that you probably haven't worn on your way to that job. You have to inspire, motivate, stay focused, keep the trains moving. There are so many roles and responsibilities of being that chief executive. And I think somebody said this on one of your blog postings. It's like the chief everything officer. A lot of things really fall on you as the leader. The leader is both kind of at the forefront, but also in the back to make sure everybody's moving along the continuum. So, for me, I guess, as CEO, I want to create the right environment, the right ecosystem for everybody to really achieve their personal best, to have a situation where we can solve important problems, that people are really motivated and excited to come in every day and bring their very best selves with them, and their whole selves with them, that they don't feel like they have to put on a act to be part of the show, that they really are being appreciated and recognized for their own personal strengths. And I think that does fall on the CEO. It starts at the top. They set the tone. They set the culture. And, it's on them to create the right environment for everybody to be successful.
Very well said. No, I appreciate that. Well, Paige, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule. I wanted to ask if there was anything additional you want to let our readers and our listeners know, and then how people can get a hold of you.
Well, thanks. This has been fun. I could talk forever about, I'm obviously passionate about all these topics. It's a fun way to spend some time. So, what I would say to anyone that's listening, feel free to go to my website. It's mavensandmoguls.com, all spelled out, Mavensandmoguls. I have a lot of articles on the website, articles I've written that some of them are kind of evergreen topics that I think are relevant to a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs, and people building their careers, people who are stuck in their careers. And I talk about kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you just scan through the article headlines, you should probably be able to stumble upon a few where it might be relevant and help you out of a situation. I don't think any of us live long enough to make all the mistakes ourselves. So if you can learn from any of mine, I am happy to help because I've got all the war wounds to prove it. And just, I would tell people that, find stuff that you really genuinely enjoy doing, because if you do, you'll probably be really good at it. Don't try and force fit into something that's not working for you. Go find something that you're really genuinely excited about, because that's really where you will shine. That's the way it's worked in my experience.
Very, very true. Well, Paige, I appreciate you so much, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun, Gresh. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem. And I'll cut it off here.